Thousands had to be evacuated in Quezon City due to massive flooding brought about by the Habagat rains. Let's get updates from the Chief of Quezon City's Disaster and Risk Reduction Management Department, Maria Bianca Perez. Good evening. Welcome to the big story.
Good evening, ladies.
Tell us what areas were most affected in Quezon City.
In Quezon City, starting July 19, we have been flooded in 68 different barangays, but more so in 31 priority barangays that we had advised for pre-evacuation. These barangays are those along lying the Tulyahan Riverway and the San Juan Riverway and along the San Mateo Marikina rivers. So all these 31 barangays were the ones that we had prioritized to conduct preemptive evacuation, and thus they were also the ones who were heavily affected during the flooding that occurred. But that does not discount also the flooding that also occurred in all over 51 barangays who reported evacuation um, during the entire weather disturbance.
So tell us, no casualties. That at least we can be thankful for. Is that correct?
Unfortunately, we still have three missing persons who are under investigation, and we have one that we have confirmed that we have retrieved from another city, but it flowed to Navota City. The one missing person that we were looking for was just identified to in Navota City. So apparently the body floated there. So we have at least one confirmed death.
Okay, Bianca, I would just like to ask, no, compared to the rainy season in the past, rainy seasons in the past, were there any new areas na biglang binaha na dati hindi naman binabaha? There have been reports, of course, online, and I just wanted to validate. For example, around the areas no, sa may Commonwealth, kung nasan yung MRT 7, was the water really diverted to somewhere else and nag-cause ng new flooded areas?
In an inspection conducted by our city engineers along with the MMDA, we have identified that the drainages there were clogged and were diverted, and the storm waters that normally recede in those areas have been diverted elsewhere in the main road because of the some of the construction construction materials related to the um, MRT construction where plugging the drainages. But we are still investigating this, and we're studying if that is the lone and the only contributor to the additional flooding that we have experienced in that area.
Well, Bianca, until now, would you say marami pa rin ang nagpaparescue? And how fast does a Quezon City DRRMO respond to requests like that? And what would you say are some of the biggest challenges you are facing on the ground?
So far, we have recorded 204 emergency incidents during this weather disturbance, and 158 of those were requests for rescue. I can say that we were able to complete all those rescue operations in the duration of 6 hours, but I cannot say in particular just how fast we are, because our focus then was that we had to evacuate them before we so that we could lessen yung rescue operations. So we had to avoid yung mismong pag-rescue during the peak of the rainfall, because it risk yung ating mga responders. So and as a result, parang more than 6 hours na nasa labas yung ating mga responders, and we in each incident and rescue operation, hindi lang naman siya yung isa-isa na kinukuha yung mga families, but talagang sinusuyod nila yung bawat streets na dinadaanan nila sa bawat takbo. So I can say naman that at least last night we were able to complete all 158 requests for rescue, so within 6 hours, and all of them were reported to be safe.
So Bianca, yung Tulyahan River talagang tuwing may mahabang pag-ulan, matagal na pag-ulan, talagang nag-overflow yung Tulyahan River. Hindi ba? I mean, we've seen that happen again and again.
Yes, of course, lalo na ngayon kasi the La Mesa Dam reached its spilling level, which did not occur even during Karina. So, yung mga bahay, yung mga households nearby Tulyahan were also submerged. But thankfully, we were able to also evacuate them in time. And those that we had to rescue were those na mga nagpaiwan during the first operation of evacuation. So that yun yung easily avoidable, pero still inevitable kapag may mga resistant pa rin for evac.
Okay.
How has the culture changed? No? Have people been more receptive to preemptive evacuations? I mean, clearly there's still some, no, 158 requested rescue. But what's your assessment?
I dare say na it's improved because in Karina, we received 864 requests for rescue. And we had similar, and we had somewhat a similar scenario that the heavy rainfall persisted through the night. And it was a bit of a surprise also. I mean, not really a surprise, but we had a very short lead time for the heavy rainfall. So I believe, and I want to believe that the people also learned that compared to the 864 that we had to rescue last year, many people, many others already evacuated early. Pero hindi pa rin naging zero, meron pa rin 158, but still, it's still a big improvement from the 864 we had to respond to last year.
But we're still expecting heavy rainfall, perhaps even into the weekend. So what are you planning for our populace in Quezon City to be safe from the flooding?
So right now, we are really focused on providing the immediate necessities of our people in our evacuation centers, because we have reported 27,095 individuals and 7,790 families. So our focus is to have them stay there for the meantime and to as much as possible take care of all their needs. So in anticipation of this heavy rainfall, we want to make sure that they stay in the safe spaces, safe shelters that we have provided them, and that they are taken well cared of. We are also replenishing our supplies that we have used out during the response operations. So including medicines and relief, and of course the response equipment that we have used. And we're also using the lull in the weather to have our responders rest. And since we anticipate that, since many of the evacuees are already in the evacuation centers, we anticipate that there's not much rescue operations that's going to be happening soon already, because all of the people are already safely and are already safe in the evacuation centers. But still, we are replenishing our supplies, letting our people rest, and taking care of our people in the evacuation centers.
Well, Bianca, that's good to hear, because July is also the month of national disaster resilience. But I also wanted to ask, for those residents who don't have access anymore to online communication, how can they get in touch with the Quezon City government for assistance and alerts?
So we have a helpline, QC helpline 122. So all emergency concerns can be directed there. So if there is any rescue operations, so all of what I mentioned earlier, the 158 rescue operations, we got it from the QC helpline 122. So it's a one-time, it's an all-around hotline for all needs for the city.
And as Ses and Pawi mentioned, this is only the beginning. No, sunod-sunod na bagyo ang asahan natin na parating. Bianca, how is QC in terms of resources? Handa naman kayo? Meron namang mga funds na nakatabi na for this?
As we are prepared, that we are able to mobilize 1,000 people, manpower for this response operations. And actually, we have just declared a state of calamity in the city due to the affected population due to the number of affected population brought about by habagat. So since we have declared the state of calamity, the barangays and the city can access the quick response fund of the local DRRMO fund, which amounts to the 30% of the 5% budget of the city and their barangay budgets. So we have enough funds and access to additional funding that we might use to prepare and anticipate this coming rainy days.
One question before you go, Bianca. Is the Quezon City government, now coordinating with the contractors of the MRT, because the rains will continue, and if construction materials are indeed blocking the drainage, then we'll expect more flooding in Commonwealth?
We are constantly in coordination with the contractors of the MRT subway. And as I mentioned, this is still under investigation. We want to also cover all possible factors. It might not just be that is contributing to the flood. So we want to be sure, but of course, to be sure, we have to consult all stakeholders involved. So it's not just with the contractor, but with also the DPWH, MMDA, and of course, our city engineers.
But Commonwealth was never really flooded this way before.
No, not really.
All right. Well,
Okay. I think that's pretty much it. No? Araneta also flooded, but any plans for that? Maybe as a last word. That's a usual thing, right? But
yeah, yes, but Mayor Joy has really targeted a flood-free city, and we are really investing and consulting with the DPWH for flood projects such as retention basins, flood interceptors, stormwater harvesting systems. So we have projects that we have developed that we are investing in, and that we are also seeking help from DPWH to help us implement. So we are really focused on making sure that we can reduce flooding in the cities more.
Bianca, sorry, before we let you go, I wanted to ask...
Or making it flood-free.
I wanted to ask about power restoration efforts
Okay.
because some residents reported not having power for over 10 hours already in different parts of Quezon City. And I understand one of the reasons is because that's to give way for the search and rescue operations. It's a temporary disconnection. Is there a timetable on when power can be restored completely?
Our target is ASAP. At least we're coordinating with Meralco. They have disconnected the power for these areas because of the submerged circuit networks for the power distribution. So it's really just to make sure that people are safe when in the event of crossing the flood waters. Ngayon naman nag-subside naman yung waters. So Meralco is doing it the best doing the best that it can para bumalik yung power in these areas immediately, siguro within tonight.
thank you very much for talking to us, Maria Bianca Perez, Chief of Quezon City's DRRM.